Hello students, welcome to iTTV. In today's lesson, we are going to learn on synthetic polymer and synthetic rubber. Synthetic polymer are man-made polymers. They do not exist naturally. In today's lesson, we are going to learn different types of synthetic polymer. Let's look at the different examples of synthetic polymer. Synthetic polymer are polymers that are industrially made from chemical substances derived from petroleum. Synthetic polymers can be classified into three groups: synthetic rubber, plastics, and synthetic fiber. So we have seen different types of synthetic polymer. Let's look at synthetic rubber. One good example of synthetic rubber is gloves. Now this rubber glove has special characteristic to it. It is stretchable. Now let's look at this simple demonstration and see how this glove can be stretched. Here we can see glove, and today we are going to study the unique properties of goods made of synthetic rubber. As you can see, we can actually stretch and release. So from what we can observe in here, it actually goes back after it is released, it goes back to its original position. So this is actually the properties of synthetic rubber, where it is elastic and flexible. The demonstration of glove being stretched and released. From this demonstration, there is a unique property of goods made of synthetic rubber. The properties of synthetic rubber is elastic and also flexible. So these are the properties of synthetic rubber. 1. They are flexible. 2. They are very elastic. So using these characteristics, certain materials are made. And here we have seen how gloves are made from synthetic rubber. Let's look at some of the examples of synthetic rubber. Example of synthetic rubber are styrene butadiene rubber, butadiene rubber, butyl rubber, neoprene, and isoprene rubber. Synthetic rubber is used to make tires, shoe soles, gloves, cables, and hoses. So we have seen some of the materials that's made from synthetic rubber, and it is useful in our household environment. Now let's look at plastic. Plastic are widely used in our daily life. Plastic are light but strong, good electric insulator, heat resistant, and chemical resistant. So one good thing about plastic is they are light and easily maneuvered from one place to another. On top of that, it is heat resistance, is a good insulator, and on top of that, it doesn't react with any chemicals. These are the special characteristics of plastic. Now let's look at some of the examples of plastic. Examples of plastics are melamine, polyethylene, polyvinyl chloride (PVC), bakelite, perspex, and polystyrene. Plastics are used to make various products such as plastic bags, bottles, window frames, packaging materials, switches, and plates. So here we have seen some of the examples of plastic. Now the special characteristic is they are light. That is one good thing about plastic, and it doesn't react with the material that is placed in it or any chemicals that is placed in it. So these are the special characteristics of plastic. Now let's move on to synthetic fiber. Where is it used? Synthetic fibers are used to make various products. This is because synthetic fiber has high tensile strength, has adequate stiffness, resistance abrasion, and is washable. Here we have seen synthetic fiber and the characteristics of it. So this makes special. That's why it's called synthetic polymer. So let's look at some of the examples of synthetic fiber. Examples of synthetic fiber are polyester, rayon, and nylon. So we have learned all the synthetic polymer. Now how does this synthetic polymer actually created? Now let's look at a process called polymerization, whereby it uses the monomer. Through this polymerization process, polymer is created. So let's look at these notes and find how this polymerization actually occurs. Synthetic polymers consist of a linked series of small molecules called monomers. Polymers are found through a process called polymerization. So monomers are required in order to create a polymer. This polymer is actually a long chain that consists of monomers. Butyl rubber consists of two different monomer units. Both monomers join together to form a long chain molecule, which is butyl rubber. So let's see how butyl rubber is created using these two different types of monomers. The picture shows the representation of polymerization to form butyl rubber. Butyl rubber is an example of synthetic rubber. So here, the use of two monomers, that is isobutylene and isoprene, is used. These two different types of monomer will be combined to become one long chain of so-called a polymer through a process called polymerization. So let's look at this synthetic rubber in detail, because we have learned how it is constructed. So where does it come from? Is it a man-made product, or is it comes from the rubber tree? Natural rubber is made from only one type of chemical compound. Natural rubber, or polyisoprene, is a polymer made from isoprene monomer. So natural rubber is actually polyisoprene, which consists of monomer, which is called isoprene. But is it similar to our synthetic rubber? Let's see. Synthetic rubber is made from monomer which are derived from petroleum. General characteristics of the synthetic rubber are heat resistant, chemical and oil resistant, impermeable to gas and water, oxygen, ozone and weathering resistant, good electrical insulator. So synthetic rubber is actually derived from petroleum. Now, as we have learned earlier, natural rubber is derived from the rubber tree. But here, synthetic rubber is actually derived from petroleum. There is two different sources in here. Now, as we have learned earlier, this synthetic polymer is actually a man-made polymer. And we have learned in here the general characteristics of synthetic polymer. Now, let's see where is it used. A good example of a product that is made from a combination of natural and synthetic rubber is tires. So here we can see a combination of natural rubber and synthetic rubber is used in our tires. But this tire, there are two different types to it. One is the lorry and the tire used in the car. Now the tire used in a lorry has different combination and has a different percentage to it. And same thing applies to a car. Why are they different? Let's see the difference between these two different tires. A good example of a product that is made from a combination of natural and synthetic rubber is tires. Lorry tires have a higher percentage of natural rubber in them to provide longer life for carrying heavy loads. On the other hand, car tires have a lower percentage of natural rubber content due to its usage for lighter loads. Here we can see natural rubber is used in the tires, but the composition for the lorry and the car is totally different. In a lorry, it has a higher percentage, while for a car, it has lower percentage of natural rubber. Now, why is it so? Let's look at the difference between this lorry and a car. Lorry is much heavier compared to a car. That's why it has to have higher percentage of this natural rubber so that it can be used for a longer period of time, and on top of that due to a heavy mass. So this is the difference between these two. Other products that are made from a combination of natural and synthetic rubber are mattresses, cushions, sports shoes and balls. So here we can see other products, not only tires, cushions, mattresses, shoe soles and balls, rubber balls are example of synthetic rubber. Now let's look at the next slide where it shows the difference between a natural rubber and synthetic rubber. Here are the properties between synthetic rubber and natural rubber. Characteristics for heat resistance for synthetic rubber is able to withstand high temperature, while for natural rubber becomes soft and sticky. The characteristics of resistance to chemicals for synthetic rubber does not react with acids and alkalis, but for natural rubber it reacts with acids and alkalis. Characteristics on permeability to gas and water for synthetic rubber, not permeable to gas and water, while for natural rubber, slightly permeable to gas and water. Aging resistance for synthetic rubber ages slower, while for natural rubber ages faster. Characteristics on electrical insulation for synthetic rubber is excellent, while for natural rubber is good. Characteristics on elasticity of synthetic rubber is poor, while natural rubber is excellent. Characteristics of ability to absorb shock and vibration for synthetic rubber is poor, while for natural rubber is excellent. And finally, the characteristics of vulcanization for synthetic rubber can be vulcanized, while for natural rubber can be vulcanized too. So here we have seen the differences between synthetic rubber and natural rubber, and as you can see there are certain characteristics which differentiates between natural and synthetic rubber. Now let's look at simple questions in order to understand this topic well. Question 1. A synthetic polymer is A. A polymer that is produced naturally, B. A molecule of hydrocarbons saturated with carbon atoms, C. A polymer made industrially that consists of series of monomers, D. A polymer formed from a combination of various different molecules. Now let's look one at a time. Synthetic polymer. A polymer that is produced naturally. No, it's not. It's actually a man-made product. For B, a molecule of hydrocarbons saturated with carbon atoms. No, it actually consists of different types of monomers. So therefore, number for B is actually wrong. Let's look at C. A polymer made industrially that consists of series of monomers. Yes, it is true. Now let's look D just in case. A polymer formed from the combination of various different molecules. No, it's not consist of molecule at all. So it's actually a chain, a long chain of monomer. So therefore, the answer for this question is C. Let's look at question 2. Which of the following is not a synthetic polymer? A. Rayon, B. Polyester, C. Protein, D. Plastic. So this question actually asks not a synthetic polymer. So therefore it's very obvious in this question protein is the answer. So C is the answer for this question. Let's look at question 3. Which one of the following is not a synthetic rubber? A. Butyl rubber, B. Styrene butadiene rubber, C. Neoprene, D. Polyisoprene. So the question actually says not a synthetic rubber. Now let's look back into the question. A, B and C is actually a synthetic rubber. So ABC is not the answer because the question actually says not a synthetic rubber. So D, let's look at the answer, polyisoprene. If you can remember back, natural rubber is actually called polyisoprene, which consists of monomer isoprene. So therefore, the answer for this question is D, polyisoprene, because it is actually made from natural rubber. Question 4. Which one of the following is not a characteristic of chloroprene rubber or neoprene? A. High flammability, B. Good aging resistance, C. Adheres to many substrates, and D. High ozone and weather resistant. So in this question, it actually asks us on chloroprene rubber. It is actually a synthetic rubber. Now we have learned the differences between a synthetic rubber and natural rubber. And from these differences, we can see that A is not the characteristics of synthetic rubber, where it says high flammability. So for this question, the answer is A. Let's look at question 5. Tires for lorries have a higher percentage of natural rubber content compared to tires for ordinary cars because natural rubber provides dash for carrying heavy loads. A. Longer life, B. Heat resistance, C. Chemical resistance, D. More resistance to ozone and weather. So the tires for lorries has higher percentage of natural rubber. Now why is it? Let's look one at a time. A. Longer life. Yes, it is one of the characteristics of it. B. Heat resistance. No, it's wrong. C. Chemical resistance. It's wrong. That is not the reason why the tire is designed for the lorries. And D. More resistance to ozone and weather. Actually, it is the characteristics of synthetic rubber. So therefore, the answer for this question is A. Let's summarize what we have learned today. We have learned that synthetic polymer can be classified into 3 groups: synthetic rubber, plastics, and synthetic fiber. On top of that, we have learned synthetic rubber and the examples of synthetic rubber like styrene butadiene rubber, butyl rubber, neoprene, and isoprene rubber. Synthetic rubber is used to make tires, shoe soles, gloves, cables, and hoses. And on top of that, we also have learned how synthetic rubber is different from natural rubber, how the combination of isoprene and isobutadiene is required for the making of this synthetic rubber. We also have learned some of the general characteristics of this synthetic rubber. Let's look at it. General characteristics of synthetic rubber: heat resistant, chemical and oil resistant, impermeable to gas and water, oxygen, ozone and weathering resistant, and good electrical insulation. So these are the things that we have learned today. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. Thank you for watching iTTV. I will see you in the next lesson. Goodbye, students.